Hello everyone, so you're looking down on my assembled force of Berbers and Tuareg. Just finished painting up the last of the dismounted Berbers, and I can't get everything in frame, so this is just a very brief shot, and then I'm going to zoom in, bring the camera a little bit closer to each separate unit, and do a kind of showcase of the entire force. So here we go. Okay, so we'll start up this end here with the Tuareg section of the army. So these are figures that I've painted up, shown you them before, but I thought I'd get the whole lot out and do a review. These are figures I painted up for the men who would be kings rule set. So basically they're going to be opposed to the French Foreign Legion forces, which I do have a force, and I put up a background in the past, and I discovered that the colonial forces, the native forces in the men who would be kings, are very disabled against the imperial forces, whatever they might be. So I realised I needed a lot more figures, and I needed to introduce a lot more terrain. So as I go around, the bits and pieces of scattered terrain you'll see I acquired from a company called War Paint, who do a lot of very useful kind of template style terrain. So it's particularly useful for the desert, just to represent rocky ground and so on. The smaller pieces can just be there for decorative effect. But anyway, so I have got 3 units of tribal infantry. I've composed the Tuaregs as per the Arab 24-point suggestion in 24-point starter field force in the back of the Men Who Will Be Kings rule book, and the 3 irregular infantry have field craft. So that makes them 5 points each, so 15 points altogether there. I'll just move the camera a little bit and show you the other 2 units as well. Okay, so that's the second unit there, and in the background you can see a 3rd unit. So 3 identical units, tribal infantry with field craft, and at the back, just at the top of the frame, there are 2 additional figures that are surplus to requirement at the moment. All these figures are from Castaway Arts, Australian firm. Okay, now over to the mounted part of the Tuareg army. Okay, so the voluminous banner is obscuring most of this unit, but that is a group of 8 irregular cavalry rather than tribal cavalry, so there are only 8 figures in it. But there are also 2 units of tribal cavalry behind that, so I'll just get a different shot to show you those. Okay, so there at the back is 10 camel riders, so they represent tribal cavalry, and beside them are 10 riders on horseback, so they are also tribal cavalry. So that is the entirety of the Tuareg force. That makes up 24 points. Now I'll go on to the Berber forces. Okay, so I have fewer figures in terms of Berbers, but by giving them various buffs and so on, it's quite easy to make them up to another 24-point army. Majority of these Berbers are from 1898 miniatures that are available in the UK via Empress Miniatures. And at the front here, you've got 4 casualty figures, so they're not part of a unit. They're just, can be used as markers or background, scatter terrain, that kind of thing. I particularly like the figure whose horse is falling. There's a similar kind of posed figure that Warlord do in their Crimean War range of the Lancer figure charging at the charge of the Light Brigade and his horse tumbling like that. I think it's really good dynamic pose for a casualty figure. So I've always liked that. Only painted that up recently, so I don't think I've ever shown you that before. And then behind the casualty figures, you have a unit of tribal cavalry. So as I say, I've got fewer figures for the Berbers, so they wouldn't be very much in the way of points at all. So I've given them every buff going. So they are. Oh no, sorry, I beg your pardon. I haven't given them any buffs at all. I've left my cavalry completely unenhanced, so they are only worth 3 points. And beside them, I'll just move the camera again. Okay, so beside them is another unit of tribal cavalry. Again, 3 points, totally unenhanced. And a couple of sort of surplus figures just in front of those that were definitely going to be played with. I just left them out of units to begin with, but there's a figure representing Al-Raizuli, who is the historic character, but that's very much the historic figure as portrayed by Sean Connery in the movie, what's it called? The Lion and the Wind, I think it's called, or The Wind and the Lion. Brilliant film. If you've never seen it, recommend it. Lots of action packed, but based on a true story, but totally altered and messed around with. So kind of a fictional story based on historic facts. And then there's another figure surplus to requirement there, who is another leader figure from 1898 miniatures, and I'm going to use him as Abdel al-Krim, because he looks very much like the again historic figure called Abdel al-Krim, who is portrayed by Ian Holm in the movie March or Die. Okay, and then I've got 2 units of tribal infantry, so 16 figures per unit. Show you next. Okay, so there are the 2 units, one behind the other. So the front unit is partly, about 50% of them are castaway arts, so they tend to be more the figures down this side. And then the ones to the right are from 1898 miniatures. So they match together quite well. The 1898 miniatures are slightly larger, but not noticeably so. And behind them, a unit of entirely 1898 miniatures. And it's the 1898 miniatures, the dismounted 1898 miniatures, which I've just finished to complete my entire force. And as I say, these ones, tribal infantry would only be 16 figures, 3 points each, but I've given them every buff going, so they are elite, veteran, fierce and well-armed sharpshooters. So that bumps them up to 9 points per unit, which means that that's 18 points for the 2 infantry and another 6 points for the cavalry, so that makes 24. But I could play around with that, you know, sort of take away some of their buffs and give them to the cavalry. But it's just to demonstrate that even though there are fewer figures, still possible to make up 24 points. So what that's going to do now is give me a vastly superior force to the French Foreign Legion figures that I've got. I'm still going to carry on painting French Foreign Legion figures, but I could play a game and even though it's unbalanced in terms of points, it will hopefully be a little bit more balanced in terms of gameplay, so I'm looking forward to doing that. So I'll just give you a little shot looking down the line and then call it a day there. Right, there we go then. So that's looking down the line at mainly the Berber element of the force. I'm very happy with this army, looking forward to playing with it, and I should hopefully, I've got the, as you can see, I've got the map, desert map on the table, and the figures are out now, so shouldn't be long and I should have a back rep up, another back rep, The Men Who Would Be Kings, so I'm looking forward to playing that. And I'll just take the camera down the other end of the table and give you a shot from that end as well. Right, there we go, so that's the Tuareg wing of the army, camels in the distance there. So yeah, really happy with all this, and as I say, should make for quite a spectacular scene when I get round to playing a game of The Men Who Would Be Kings with them again and giving you another back rep. So thanks very much for watching, see you on the next video.